I never thought I'd feel this kind of emptiness. Not like this. It's a hollow ache that sits behind my ribs, a weight I can't shake. He's gone. He's already remarried. 7 years of my life gone. And somehow, the moment I found out, something in my chest just shattered. I want to tell you everything, but I need you to hear it the way it happened. Slowly, piece by piece, because if I tell it too fast, it won't feel real. I hope you're sitting down. Maybe grab a cup of tea. Because this story isn't like anything I've shared before. It all started on a Wednesday. Normal day. The kind where you feel like maybe life will be quiet for a few hours. But it wasn't. I got a message. Just a small notification at first, but the words hit me like a brick. John and Melissa are married. I stared at it, blinked, thought maybe I'd misread. But no, he, my ex-husband, was gone. And somehow the world had moved on without me noticing. I know what you're thinking. Divorce. That's normal. People move on. But something about this felt wrong. Not just wrong, but unsettling. Like I was looking at a photograph I shouldn't be seeing. The air smelled heavier that day, and every shadow in my apartment seemed to whisper questions I didn't want to answer. I can still remember the first time I met him. The way he laughed at things no one else would notice. The way he'd hold my hand. Like the rest of the world didn't matter. I thought we had it all figured out. 7 years together, countless memories. And now he's gone. Just like that. I tried to scroll past the message, tried to tell myself it wasn't a big deal. But the notifications kept coming. People tagging him, people posting pictures. That's when it hit me, the smile on her face. The woman who replaced me overnight. I didn't know her. And yet there was something about her that made me question everything I thought I knew. Why was my heart twisting like this? Was it jealousy? Or fear? Or maybe, was it the faint whisper in the back of my mind that told me things weren't as simple as they seemed? I spent the day replaying every memory, every conversation. Did I miss something? Did I overlook signs? Everyone tells you, you'll know when someone's lying. But sometimes, the truth is quieter than you imagine. Sometimes it hides in the little things, in the small gestures, in what's not said. I remember sitting on my couch, scrolling through pictures of him and her, trying not to vomit from the sting of betrayal. But then a thought flickered in my mind, something I couldn't shake, something that felt dangerous. Could I have been blind all these years? Before I go further, I want to pause and say, if you're watching this on Betrayal Uncovered, and you've ever had that gut feeling that something is off, that maybe someone you trusted isn't what they seem, you'll understand. And if you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe, because this story, it's going to take you places you didn't expect. There were so many unanswered questions. How did he meet her so quickly? Why did she appear like she'd been waiting for this moment all along? And the strangest part, she reminded me of someone. Or something. I couldn't put my finger on it. And even now, thinking about it makes my stomach churn. I tried reaching out to him, just a text. Hey, congrats, I typed, and then I deleted it. What could I even say? You hurt me, and I'm supposed to be happy for you. That didn't make sense, so I left it. I tried to move on. I tried to pretend like it didn't sting. But the truth, every time I closed my eyes, I could see them together. Smiling. Laughing like I had never existed. I kept asking myself, did I ever really know him? Or did I just think I did? And then came the dreams. The strange, impossible dreams. Dreams of him standing in front of me, but with eyes that weren't quite his. Dreams of her, smiling, but her smile wasn't just a smile. It was a message, something I couldn't decode, but my gut screamed at me that it meant trouble. And that's when it hit me. The first real shiver of fear, the feeling you get when the world isn't what it seems. Something was happening. Something I wasn't ready for. And it involved her, the new wife, the woman who had stepped into my life like she had rehearsed it for years. I wish I could explain more, but I can't. Not yet. If I did, I'd ruin everything. What I can say is this: over the next few days, the tiny details I'd ignored, the little oddities I'd written off, started lining up. Little things that didn't make sense before suddenly became glaring. Little clues that maybe, just maybe, everything I thought I knew about him, and about me, was about to change. By the end of that week, I knew I had to see them. I didn't know why, or what I hoped to find. Maybe closure. Maybe confirmation that I wasn't insane. Maybe something worse. And yet, as I drove toward that cafe where I'd spotted them, a voice in my head whispered, "You have no idea what you're about to learn." I parked, my hands shaking. My heart was hammering, a rhythm I couldn't control. I watched them through the window. She laughed. He held her hand. And something in her gaze, it made my stomach drop. That was the moment I realized things weren't just wrong. They were dangerous. And I don't mean in a physical sense. I mean the kind of wrong that unravels your whole life. The kind that forces you to question everything you've believed. The kind that makes you wonder if you ever really knew anyone at all. I'll tell you one thing, I never imagined my life could turn into a story like this. I never imagined I'd feel so lost, so exposed, so completely out of control. But I did, and the next few days were only the beginning. Because I was about to discover something that would change everything. And no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't prepare myself for what I was about to see. The days after seeing them at the cafe were some of the longest of my life. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. Every time my phone buzzed, my chest tightened, thinking it might be him, but it never was. And when it wasn't him, it was the memory of that smile. That impossible, infuriating smile of hers that seemed to mock me silently. I tried to convince myself that it was normal. That I should just let it go. That people move on. That life changes. But something about the way he had moved on so quickly. Something about her, it didn't sit right. It felt deliberate. Like someone had planned this long before I even realized it. I kept replaying the small moments we had shared, trying to pinpoint when the cracks began. And the more I remembered, the more confused I became. Because I had loved him, I had trusted him, but now I was second, guessing every word, every glance, every laugh. Could he really have hidden this from me for 7 years? Could he have felt this way all along and never said a word? And then there were the messages. Mutual friends sending me screenshots, tagging me in posts. At first, I tried to ignore them, but one evening, I broke. One message in particular froze my blood, a photo of him, holding her hand at some gala I didn't know he attended. Her hand. Perfectly manicured. Expensive jewelry I would never have worn, except she had it all. And the way he looked at her, so different from the way he looked at me. I couldn't stop thinking, did he ever love me the way I loved him? That question echoed in my head constantly. And if he hadn't, then who was she really? Something about her behavior, even in pictures, made my skin crawl. There was a kind of rehearsed elegance in the way she posed, a confidence that didn't seem natural. It wasn't arrogance. No, it was something colder, sharper. Like she knew exactly how to fit into a life that wasn't hers, and how to make it hers without anyone noticing. I started noticing little things that didn't make sense. Posts deleted too quickly. Captions that hinted at inside jokes I'd never heard, vacations taken that were never mentioned. The kind of tiny details that should be meaningless, except they weren't. They were pieces of a puzzle I couldn't yet see. I tried to talk to friends about it, to get some perspective, but no one really understood. He's just moved on, they'd say. It's not a big deal. And anyone in my place would feel the same anxiety, the same creeping doubt that maybe the person you trusted wasn't what you thought. I started questioning myself. Was I overthinking? Was I imagining things? Maybe I was paranoid. Maybe my heartbreak was making me see shadows where there were none. But the gut feeling, the one that gnawed at me in the quiet hours of the night, kept coming back, and it whispered one word that made me shiver every time I heard it. Watch. Then there were the calls. He never called me directly, but sometimes a mutual friend would pass along a message. Hey, hopes you're well. Or, he says he wants you to be happy. Small things, harmless things. But the tone, it felt hollow, distant. And it only deepened the sense that he was emotionally somewhere I could never reach again. And the more I watched, the more the picture began to twist. The red flags about her behavior became more pronounced. Small gestures in videos I could find online. She subtly copying his mannerisms, laughing a little too loudly at jokes she shouldn't have known, the way she seemed to appear in his favorite spots before anyone else. It was uncanny, almost like she was studying him preparing. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe she's just charming. Maybe he's just happy. Maybe I'm too bitter. But then I'd see another detail, a social media post that didn't make sense. A friend's passing comment. A shared memory that felt oddly familiar. And suddenly, all the rational explanations fell away, leaving only doubt. The worst part was the internal conflict. Part of me wanted to confront him, to demand the truth, to scream and cry and shake him until he admitted what had really happened. But another part of me, a quieter, fearful part, wanted to hide, to disappear, to pretend I'd never noticed. Because deep down, I felt that whatever was coming, I wasn't ready for it. I started questioning my own memory. Did I misread signs in our relationship? Was I blind to something he had planned long ago? My mind became a tangle of what-ifs and maybes, spiraling faster with every passing day, and the more I tried to piece things together, the more confused I became. Then one evening, I was scrolling through old messages between us. Nothing unusual, just little everyday conversations. But something caught my eye, a phrase he had used repeatedly, a small nickname for me that suddenly felt loaded with meaning. And then a memory hit me, unbidden. Like it had been hiding in plain sight a day in our apartment, years ago, when he had laughed at a joke I didn't understand. He said something then that I only now realized was a warning. A warning I had ignored. And that's when the disturbing realization hit me like ice water. This wasn't just about him moving on. This wasn't just a breakup. Something about her, about the way she had inserted herself into his life, it was intentional. And I had no idea why, or how far it went. My heart started pounding. I felt sick. My chest tightened. I wanted to scream, to run, to hide. But I also knew I had to see. I had to understand. Even if it meant opening a door I might never close again. Because the more I thought about it, the more the pieces lined up in a way that terrified me. The vacations, the trips, the odd coincidences. She wasn't just lucky. She wasn't just charming. She had been planning something, and I was only now beginning to understand the scale. And as I stared at my reflection that night, I whispered aloud, I need to know. I need to see it for myself. But deep down, I already knew. Once I took that step, nothing would ever be the same. And when I finally did see them, I realized it wasn't just betrayal waiting for me. It was something darker. Something that would shatter everything I thought I knew about him, about her, and about myself. I didn't know the full truth yet. But I knew this. Whatever I was about to discover, it was going to change everything. I knew the day would come when I couldn't stay away anymore. When the curiosity, the gut-wrenching need to understand, would pull me into the orbit of them, into his new life. I told myself I was being brave. I told myself I needed closure. But the truth, I was terrified. The morning I finally saw them again, everything felt heavier. My chest ached, my hands shook, and every thought screamed at me to turn around. But I didn't. I drove to the small art gallery where I'd spotted them the week before. He was there, smiling, laughing, holding her hand like it was the most natural thing in the world. And she was radiant. Uncomfortably radiant. I froze in the doorway. I thought I might be imagining things. Maybe this was some trick of the light. But no, he looked at her the way he had never looked at me. And she wasn't just smiling. She was studying him. Studying every movement, every reaction, and I could feel it in my bones. She had rehearsed this. I wanted to scream, to rush in and demand answers. But I stayed hidden, pretending to browse the paintings, pretending to be calm while my heart threatened to explode. And then, something shifted. A small, almost imperceptible gesture. The way she brushed her hair behind her ear. The way her eyes flicked toward him with that subtle, sharp gleam. Suddenly, memories I had buried for years started flooding back, unbidden. Flashbacks of late nights we had shared, things he had said that didn't make sense at the time. Phrases that now hit me like warnings I had ignored. That moment in our apartment, years ago, when he had laughed at something I didn't understand. The tiny note he had left on my desk, seemingly innocent, now struck me as cryptic. I realized then that the cracks had been there all along. I had ignored them. I had rationalized them. But they weren't cracks, they were signs. Signs that someone had been moving pieces on a board I didn't even know existed. And then I saw the way she moved. The way she leaned close to him, her hand brushing his arm. It wasn't just affection. It was calculated, deliberate. Like she knew exactly how to make him feel alive again, while erasing the memory of me. I felt a cold rage settle over me. My vision blurred. I wanted to run forward, to shake him, to scream, "Do you even remember me? Do you remember what we had?" But I stayed still. Because deep down, I knew seeing this, seeing her in action, was only going to teach me the truth. Then came the whispers. Words exchanged in hushed tones. Just loud enough for me to catch fragments. She would never know. Everything is ready. 7 years of patience. And my stomach dropped. 7 years. The phrase echoed in my head, bouncing off every memory I had of him, of us. Had she known all along? Had he? Or both of them together? I remembered the first time he had introduced me to a business contact, a small gathering at his office. She had been there too, someone I'd never noticed. Someone smiling in the background, and I thought nothing of it at the time. But now, with these whispers in my ears, it made a chilling kind of sense. I began to question my own memory, my own judgment. Had I been blind? Or had I just refused to see? Every moment of doubt, every uneasy feeling I had dismissed over the years now roared back at me, insisting that I pay attention. And I did, because I had no choice. I tried to remember the stories I had told myself about him, how he loved me, how he'd never betray me. But now those memories felt fragile, like shards of glass. And as I watched them together, it was like watching a play that I hadn't been cast in. A play in which I had been the first act, and now she was the finale. And the most terrifying part, I recognized her. Not just vaguely, not like someone I had met once. But there was a familiarity. A connection I couldn't place at first. Something in the way she moved, in the tilt of her head, in the way her eyes caught the light, it was familiar. Unsettlingly familiar. And it sent a shiver down my spine. I thought of the times I had been generous with him, the nights I had stayed up waiting, the moments I had believed in us unconditionally. And now, seeing her, seeing how she fit into every gap, every space, every corner of the life he had with me, I felt like I had been erased. The betrayal was thick, almost tangible, and yet there was something more. Something darker, something I couldn't yet articulate. I could feel it in my gut, a quiet hum of danger, a knowledge that the full truth was still hidden. I remembered the little things, odd coincidences that now seemed deliberate. The random calls from mutual friends who didn't even know her. The subtle social media hints that didn't make sense at the time. Every small detail lined up, like dots forming a pattern only visible when you step back far enough. I wanted to confront them, to demand answers. But a voice in my head whispered, "Not yet. You're not ready," and I knew she was watching too. Somehow I could feel it. Somehow I could sense that her calm, her elegance, her perfect smile, it wasn't just natural. It was a shield, a mask, a performance. And then I noticed something that made my heart nearly stop. Something small yet unmistakable. A gesture, a glimmer of recognition. Something that linked her to me, to our life, in a way I couldn't yet explain. It was almost imperceptible, but I felt it in my bones. My mind raced, my pulse thudded in my ears. I realized in that moment that everything I thought I knew about him, about us, about the life we shared, was about to be turned upside down. And I understood something terrifying when I finally saw her face clearly, when the full truth hit me. Nothing would ever be the same. I took a shaky breath, holding back tears, holding back the scream I wanted to release. I leaned slightly to get a better look, and in that moment, everything seemed to slow. Every heartbeat, every second, every detail was amplified. I knew then, without a doubt, that the revelation I was about to experience would hurt more than I had ever imagined. And yet, I couldn't look away. Because I had to see it. I had to understand. And whatever I was about to discover, it would change everything. I took a deep breath and stepped forward, every nerve in my body screaming at me to stop. But I couldn't. I had to know, I had to see her. And as I moved closer, the gallery noise faded into a dull hum, and my world narrowed down to just the two of them. She turned, slowly, and in that moment, everything clicked. My heart slammed against my chest. My knees nearly gave out. The recognition hit me like lightning. She wasn't just anyone. She was me. Not me in the literal sense, of course. But she was the mirror of the life I had tried so hard to hide, the secret I had kept buried for 7 years. The woman in front of me had every mark of wealth I had never shown him, every sign of the identity I had concealed. My own identity, the billionaire life I'd hidden, was staring back at me in another person, and my stomach twisted at the truth. I froze. I couldn't speak. My mind raced 100 miles an hour. How could this be? How had he not known? How had he never suspected? And then it all started to make sense. The way he had moved on so quickly. The subtle signs I had ignored. The whispers and messages that had seemed insignificant. It wasn't random. It was orchestrated, and I had been blind. I remembered the nights I had doubted myself. The moments I had questioned my judgment. Every time I had wondered if he really loved me, or if I had imagined it, those doubts weren't mistakes. They were clues. And now, standing here, looking at her, I understood why. She had known, somehow. She had understood the power of the life I kept hidden. She had stepped into it perfectly, filling the space I had built so carefully. And he had fallen for her. Not because he loved her more, but because he had never truly known me. Not the real me. Tears welled up in my eyes as I watched him laugh at something she said. That laughter, the ease, the intimacy, it was real, but it wasn't ours. And the betrayal didn't just cut deep, it seared through my chest like fire. 7 years of hiding, 7 years of trust, and now this. And yet, there was clarity in that pain. I understood why I had kept my secret. Why I had protected myself, why I had chosen to live a quiet life. And in that understanding, a strange sense of relief washed over me. The betrayal didn't erase me. It didn't diminish my worth. It only revealed the truth of who I was, and who I wasn't willing to let anyone see without their own courage to match. I remembered every moment leading up to this, the hints, the red flags, the strange coincidences. Every time I had doubted myself, every sleepless night, every nagging gut feeling, they had all been leading to this. And now, finally, I could see it for what it was. He had cheated. Not in the way we usually imagine, with lies and secret rendezvous, but in his blindness. He had been incapable of seeing the real me, of recognizing my worth. And she had stepped in to claim what he could never understand, using my own hidden life as her blueprint. I swallowed the lump in my throat and let the tears fall. Not just for him, not just for her, but for myself. For the girl who had loved blindly, who had given everything, who had hidden everything, and who had finally seen the full truth. I took a step back, letting the moment settle. I didn't yell. I didn't confront. I didn't need to. The revelation was enough. The betrayal was enough. And for the first time in years, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time: clarity. I realized that my life wasn't over. My identity, my wealth, my secrets, they were mine. And they always would be. I didn't need anyone else to validate them. I didn't need her. I didn't need her. What I needed was to reclaim my own power, my own life, my own story. As I walked away, I felt the weight lift, just a little. The hurt was still there, sharp and raw, but beneath it was a foundation stronger than anything I had known. I had been betrayed, yes. But I had also survived. I had also learned. I had also grown. And in that, I found a strange, quiet strength. If you're watching this on Betrayal Uncovered, I want you to remember something: betrayal doesn't define you. Pain doesn't define you. What defines you is how you rise after it, how you reclaim your life, and how you honor your own truth, even when the world tries to rewrite it for you. I won't pretend it's easy. I won't pretend it doesn't hurt. But I will tell you this: the clarity, the self-respect, the awareness you gain, it's worth every tear, every sleepless night, every moment of doubt. And now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever faced betrayal so deep it made you question everything you thought you knew? Comment below. Share your story. Because if there's anyone who truly understands this, it's someone who's been there. And if you know someone who needs to hear this story, someone who's struggling, someone who's hurting, share this video with them. Let them know they're not alone, because at the end of the day, we can't control the betrayal that comes our way. But we can control how we rise from it, how we heal, how we choose to carry ourselves forward, stronger, wiser, and unbroken. And that is the truth that even the deepest betrayals can never take away.